Are you ready?
Anytime. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mantrix. I'm Sarah.
And I'm JJ.
And this is a conversation from a couple with quirky comedy quips here and there.
Quirky comedy quips. I like that. Very good.
I don't know. It's not exactly alliteration, but
No.
anyways, it could be fun.
Yeah. For those who don't know, what we do is we tell stories. Usually we find these crazy news stories that are just absurd and they make us laugh. Or they're just, you ever have that news story where you read it and you're like, I gotta
share it. Yeah.
That's what this is. And then we'll take a little break. We'll do some sponsors. And then we have a hot topic, something we want to talk about in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
And we have actually a whole backlog of exciting things to talk about. So, are you ready? I'm ready. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
I got my stories are ridiculous today. And I have two and then maybe a bonus one. We'll see how we're doing on time.
My stories are short, but
like
kind of quirky. Sure. So this is just a kind of a fun, goofy story. This is Utah is home to the woman who is the oldest water skier. She has been water skiing since 1961. Ironically, her name is Dawn Young. She is 92.
Whoa.
Yep.
I literally was going to say she may be in her late 70s.
No. She's been water skiing since 1961, but she is aged 92.
Oh my gosh.
She started water skiing on Lake Bear when she was 29, and now she's joined on outings by her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
I mean, if the president can be in his 80s, then
I'm
I guess
shocked.
we can have water skiers in their 90s.
So she holds the Guinness World Record for the oldest water skier.
Man, if she fell like that, all her bones would break.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It says she didn't know her family had applied for Guinness World Records title on her behalf. They surprised her with news at the family Christmas party.
I'm guessing this is grandma loves to go, and they get her up there every summer. We make sure she gets out there. They probably do something real simple. Oh, we're just gonna go super simple, but that's the cutest gift ever. Hey,
isn't that
loves
cute?
To ski. I bet she's the oldest one. Let's apply.
They did. They applied, and then it says
fun.
They announced that our granddaughter had a surprise. Up on the screen came a video of me skiing this past summer. My daughter then presented me with the Guinness World Record certificate. I could not believe it. I still cannot believe it. She said, "What a surprise and an honor." I just thought it was so cute.
That's such a cute
Christmas gift. Grandma, you're the oldest. Can you imagine being well, we're gonna take great grandma water skiing. That idea just terrifies me.
Yes.
But kudos to grandma and great grandma for being.
If you love something, I've always wondered. So my grandma passed away recently.
She was 92.
Yeah, but she, her hobbies included some physical things. She really loved to paint. And as her eyesight and her hand, she painted very
intricate
and very tiny things like little flower petals and stuff on china. And that was very delicate work that took a very steady hand.
Right.
And as she got older, that was one of her biggest frustrations, was to lose the ability to paint. And it's I think about the hobbies and the things that I do. I fill my time with things I love. I love reading. And if I lost my eyesight and wasn't able to read, that would be really hard for me. But then I think about guitar or piano or the musical instruments I play. To lose my dexterity, my finger ability.
That'd be tough.
It's just really challenging. Getting old is not easy, not just because of you can't move around as well, but you also lose the ability to do the things you love.
Yeah, it's true.
So good on her.
Isn't that cute? I just thought it was so fun.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Air traffic controller dragged for telling veteran pilot how to land.
Oh boy.
This story is ridiculous. So Brenda Mooney, an air traffic controller at Denton Enterprise Airport in Texas, was reportedly caught in a recording advising the pilot, a 15-year veteran pilot, with her Google-derived information. She knew better how to land the plane because she, quote-unquote, she said, I Googled it.
Oh, boy.
I like to Google things. I like to find information.
But you can't use Google as your, primary source for everything.
They have this transcript of what she said. And so he was asking for something called a short approach.
Okay.
Now, when an airplane approaches the airport, they aren't usually approaching from the direct straight down.
Yes.
Right? So they get into nearby and they do a big long swoop. They kind of make a box around the airport and then they approach the correct way.
Right.
This guy was asking for a short approach, which means I want to make a tighter turn. I don't want to go all down the big box.
Sure, like the circle around, yeah.
Sometimes it can be like an emergency thing, or sometimes it can be I don't want to take 20 extra minutes to make the big approach. So he asked for a short approach. And she said, to do a short approach, you should have turned your base abeam the numbers. And the pilot was like, you can't do that on this type of aircraft. That's not possible. She's like, well, I Googled it, and you should have done it this way. What you wanted to do is called a power off 180 degrees. That's what you have to call. Don't ask for a short approach if you're going to do a power off 180 degrees. And he literally, he was like, oh, he was so polite. I listened to the audio. He was so polite. Oh my gosh,
I'd be so annoyed.
He was like, oh, sorry about that. I've been flying for 15 years, and this is the first airport that has referred to it that way. Never heard anything about having to have your base abeam or whatever. Always what I've just did was called a short approach.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, nope, I Googled it.
I would be so annoyed if someone tried to tell me how to do my job and they weren't the person doing the same job.
The line, it says, what did he say? He's like, well, I will, and this is the pilot. And I think he was being very polite. He says, I will definitely look up the definition of short approach because I've never seen it where it says you have to turn base abeam the numbers because I don't see how you could possibly do that. He's like, my airplane won't do that. It can't happen. And she responds with, well, I Googled it, actually. I Googled short approach, and it said you have to turn your base abeam before the numbers, and you will land probably touchdown around midfield. And he says, well, okay, I apologize for requesting the wrong thing, because everywhere else, short approach means power off 180 degrees, but that's definitely not what it means here.
Wow. Wow. I'd be so frustrated.
Well, and apparently this is not this lady's first run-in.
Ah.
She's caused problems before. There's actually a petition to get her removed from her position. Her higher-ups are actually, they're like, she's really reflecting poorly on us and on our airport, and she's making us all look bad when she embarrasses herself like this by telling people, I know more than you, Mr. 15-year-old.
I know more than you because I Googled it. I don't actually know more than you. Oh boy,
I couldn't get past that. That was quite a story.
That's ridiculous.
Like, I mean,
this next story is short but weird. It says French post office opens changing rooms for online shoppers. So in France, a post office is experimenting with opening changing rooms in some of their branches to cater to online shoppers who want to quickly return purchases that don't fit. So they buy clothes or items online.
Yes. And
in order to expedite their process of being able to return them, they are offering changing rooms at the post office.
Okay, maybe this is cool.
This is in Paris. It says post office is participating in the test. It's a standalone changing room in the shape canary yellow of a French mailbox, and it hasn't been installed. Inside, there's a chair, a mirror, and a shelf to place your package for on-the-spot returns. It says the post office came up with the idea after seeing many customers pick up their packages only to return shortly later to return them if they did not fit. So in France, there's been a boom in online commerce with clients purchasing things online, like clothes and shoes, but they are often returned. Wow. So their experiment is to help out customers by providing a changing room. It's to simplify the lives of our clients. However, apparently it's causing the woman who they're asking about it says it helps people avoid making pointless back and forth trips. It's more practical. However, this woman says, I actually do prefer to buy clothes in store. And it's like, okay. Yep. But apparently it's upsetting a lot of local businesses because it's making it easier for them to not. Yep. So it says the initiative is causing deep displeasure among small independent retailers and poses serious risk to the vibrancy and local economy as it is rolled out, if it is rolled out nationally. So it's convenient for shoppers, but inconvenient for retailers.
But they kind of have to adapt.
I know. This is the modern. This is the trend.
I'm with you. It's a bummer.
I think it's weird. I don't think I would ever be like, I'm going to try it on in the post office changing room.
Well, I don't pick up enough.
I don't buy enough stuff online.
Deliver it to my house. We're not going to the post
even
office.
Like, I don't often buy a lot of, like, most of the places that I've bought clothing online. It's like Old Navy, and they have an easy return. You just go into the store and return it. Like, you don't need to ship it back to the company. Or like Amazon now has that try it before you pay for it thing, where they'll like send it to you. You have it for a week, you try it on. If it doesn't fit, you ship it back and you pay nothing.
Right.
I've never used that feature, but it does exist. So most companies, like, you can just return it in store.
Very quickly to that.
Yeah.
Because that is the biggest issue with purchasing online. The convenience of purchasing online is growing like bonkers. Everybody loves to be able to purchase online. But the fact that I can't put it on and see how it fits on my unique body shape.
Right.
And all my curves. You know, like if it, I don't have the ability to check and see if it looks good.
Right.
And so that's the first thing everyone has to do. It's always a risk to buy online.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fascinating. I like it.
That's happening in France right now. So
I think it's the way of the future. I think it's going to be more common. It's a little weird.
It's weird, but honestly, it's not the most far off thing that I've heard. You know?
That totally fits. All right, second most venomous snake in the world, found in a toddler's underwear drawer.
What?
Yeah. Guess how old the kid was?
3.
3-year-old little boy. An Australian snake hunter discovered the second most venomous snake in the world in a toddler's underwear drawer. Mark Pelly, based in Melbourne, was asked to remove a 5-foot eastern brown snake from a 3-year-old's bedroom.
Oh my gosh, that's terrifying.
Pelly he put this on Facebook. Mom went to go get some clothes for her son and found a large 5-foot brown snake instead. So she was like going to get some clothes out of the dresser. And they posted the video of this.
I would be terrified.
Oh my gosh, right? Guess what the culprit is, the reason the snake was in the house.
Oh no.
Clotheslines. They hung the clothes on a clothesline outside, and there was a snake that crawled inside the shirt, and she gathered all the laundry off the clothesline, carried it in, and just dumped it. She didn't like fold it or just put it in her son's drawer. And that's how terrifying. The snake got into...
That is terrifying. Why is everything terrifying in Australia?
We figured out what happened. She carried in folded washing yesterday, and she was taking clothes from the line, and the brown snake crawled into it.
A 5-foot snake that you just randomly carried inside. Like, I think I'd be more creeped out by the fact that, like, I carried it in and didn't know it than, that's re-finding it. Oh, my gosh.
The most common comment on the Facebook post was, how is it possible you didn't notice this snake?
Gosh, that's terrifying.
5 foot, that's a big snake. That's heavy. So
significant.
She must have had like
a ton of laundry.
And be like, oh man, this is heavier than normal. You know. Apparently, even though it's a very long snake, they're very thin and they're very lightweight, and people tend to be oblivious to them. They're designed to blend into the surroundings and not be noticed. That's what they want.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
The video of when they found it, it's just like. He's just chilling in the back of the drawer, right? And it just immediately closed the drawer. You know, it was like they opened the drawer, close the drawer. You know, like...
That's what you'd have to do. I'm not opening that drawer back up. Are you kidding me?
And then they called a venomous snake handler, because it is Australia. So it's not even just called pest control. There's a specific guy.
There's a Steve Irwin for that one.
They weigh next to nothing. Seriously, this could happen to anyone. This is the snake handler guy. He says, I've seen people carry brown snakes in their handbags or otherwise in their shopping bags. One day this could happen to you.
Is that supposed to make people feel better? That's weird.
Probably not. I think he's trying to put people on alert. Eastern brown snakes, which are fast-moving, aggressive, and known for their bad temper, according to the Australian Geographic.
Cool.
They are native to eastern and central Australia, because Australia is where the devil put all his most
I was going to say, those awful spiders and...
Everything is down there. Holy smokes. As well as southern New Guinea, and they can grow up to 7 feet in length. This is one of those moments, like we have a big blizzard happening in Michigan this week, and this is why we live in this place. Because we don't have any of that. None of these giant snakes or alligators or giant spiders or none of that. Yes, we have snowstorms.
I mean, and there are rattlesnakes that can live in Michigan. And there are other venomous things that can live in Michigan, but
the most dangerous ones.
Ooh. That's just awful.
In a 3-year-old's underwear.
No way. Absolutely not.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy. Okay, so my last story is short, but kind of crazy.
I love it.
So an iPhone survives the 16,000-foot fall from an Alaska Airlines flight. Did you hear about this Alaska Airlines flight where the side panel ripped off mid-flight?
So there was an airplane in Alaska.
There was an airplane. So apparently there was an Alaska Airlines flight that was en route on when a fuselage panel blew off, leaving a gaping hole in the side of the plane. It made an emergency landing. All were safely aboard still, but
good.
some things were sucked out. A few items reportedly included AirPods, a boy's shirt, and many things made dramatic landings after shooting out of the suddenly depressurized cabin. But the most significant was an iPhone that plummeted the 16,000 feet from the flight and landed without a single crack in the screen, and it was still half charged.
Wow. What
So the search for debris that ensued, a man named Sean Bates in the northwestern state of Washington found the iPhone on the side of the road and assumed it belonged to one of the passengers. He posted a photo of the device, and it showed the intact screen and an emailed $70 baggage receipt. The battery is shown charged to 44%, and the smartphone is still on flight mode.
That's amazing.
It says
Apple should jump all over this.
The phone appears untouched. He said the man posted on a TikTok video. He said, "It's pretty clean. There's no scratches. I found it sitting under a bush."
Wow. Wow.
He contacted the National Transportation Safety Board, which told him it was the second phone from the flight to have been found.
16,000 feet it fell. Not a scratch.
Yep.
I dropped mine 3 feet and I got cracks all over.
Oh my gosh, my phone is in horrible shape.
Yep. Well, we've had ours for years, but and they're not the titanium Apple. But if I was Apple, this story would be, I would be pumping
That's
this story up.
That's a marketing point for you there.
Wow.
So that happened. But beyond the craziness of a panel of the plane blowing off. There's been some awful stories lately of airplanes that have not passed. It's like they were inspected, but poorly. The windows flew off that one plane.
Yes. And they had to land
and they were
again.
like, "Why does it feel so drafty in here?" And
going
then all of a sudden
on
it was like,
here?
"We're losing cabin pressure." Oh, there's no windows.
Yep, they got up to
This one
3,000
lost
feet.
the side of the
That was in
plane.
the UK. Wow.
But the part that made me laugh was I read another story about the one who the boy's shirt got ripped off, the side flew off the plane and all of a sudden the boy's shirt just whipped right off of it. And I'm like, oh, that's terrifying.
I love that though.
But yeah, so
I actually have a bonus story, and we've been clipping through these pretty quick, so
Okay.
I'm going to dive in. Passport forger might have gotten away with it if she could spell Massachusetts.
oh no.
So I'm going to ask, because I actually had trouble with this. Do you know how to spell Massachusetts?
Massachusetts.
Yes. Wow. Nailed it 100%.
Okay.
I misspelled it 3 times trying to
good
type
job.
it into the Google bar. Yes. So according to an affidavit from the U.S. Department of State, Special Agent James Cooper, Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, there was a woman named Elizabeth Clementi. She attempted to withdraw money from a credit union posing as one of their depositors. Now, I don't know what a depositor is, but it seems to be someone who can walk into a bank and ask for a whole bunch of money. She presented a passport that showed her face as the depositor, but the credit union had a stored image of each of their depositors as part of the account, and when they compared it, they were like, wait, you're not in our list. So they called the police. She attempted to run out of the bank. When she saw the police, she did not make it far. Then, after trying to run and getting caught, she presented the passport to the police, continued to claim that I am a depositor, but there was a dead giveaway that the passport was a fake. Notably, under place of birth section of the passport card, the state was misspelled Massachusetts.
Oh, that's a bad spelling error.
Yeah, it looks wrong when you look at it. You're like, no, that's not right. It's a dead giveaway. And it's like,
Wow, that's painful.
This article says, look, if you're going to make a fake passport, maybe stick to a state that is easy to spell, like Texas or Utah.
Spell check.
Eventually, her true identity was discovered. The affidavit calls for criminal charges, knowing use of a forged or fraudulent U.S. passport, and aggravated identity theft.
Wow.
So I don't know what a depositor is or how she thought she could get money out of this credit union.
Oh.
But
she wasn't very thorough in her.
Make sure you spell it right.
Spell check, always with a spell check.
Yeah, I saw that story. I just saw that today.
I've never heard of a depositor either, but I don't work in banking, so.
No, and I just don't. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know. Maybe they'll make a Catch Me If You Can too. and I'll have a depositor on file.
Yeah, there you go.
But see, he always spelled everything correct. That's why they never caught him.
That's why they never got him. But they did catch him.
Those are good stories. That was a good slate of ridiculousness.
Kind of firing back and forth there.
Yeah. You ready for Sponsor Your Life?
Sure.
We've had so many amazing things happen in life. Like, everything is sponsored my life right now.
Everything is sponsoring your life.
I'm just on cloud 9. We have a new baby.
It's true, we do. I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll just shout out to sponsor my life is midwives. Good midwives.
Good midwives.
Yeah, this little squeaker here.
Do you hear? I wonder if you can hear it in the recording.
I don't think so. She's pretty quiet.
But she's sneezing.
But yeah, I don't know. It was a good week. We did have a baby yesterday. Well, when this podcast comes out, it'll have been a week. But we inevitably had our baby on the 12th. And by we had our baby, I gave birth to the child.
It was very stressful for me. It was a hard day.
Actually, it was like the least stressful day. Honestly,
Holy
it was like
smokes. It was.
I don't want anyone to ever misleadingly believe that giving birth is easy, but that was pretty easy.
But it was pretty easy.
It was pretty easy.
Incredible. It was the smooth. We've had 5 children. We've done this a lot.
It's true.
And that was the best one. It was like the midwife herself was a little bit like.
I know. She was like, well, if everything was this easy for others, she didn't know what to do. Like, she got there and she left an hour later and she was like, I feel like I should be doing more, but I don't really know what to do.
It was so, she walked in like
10 minutes before I gave birth.
Baby came, right? We were ready.
I know.
We were literally.
She was like, yep, she's about ready to push the head out. And I was like, wait, are you kidding me right now?
Bam, we're ready.
So,
boom. It was so smooth.
Good midwives.
So easy. Yeah.
It was a great birth. It really was.
Did she have a name to her service?
Yes, Believing Birth Midwifery.
Believing Birth.
And she is 10 minutes from our house, which is pretty awesome.
She's Michigan.
Yep, she's technically, I guess she's located in Midland, but I would consider it still Freeland.
Totally.
But yeah, she's not far, and then her assistant Kathy is amazing. Very helpful.
You're in the Midland, Saginaw Bay City region.
Highly recommend Kelly Aguilera. She's awesome. But yeah, so
she
just
did a great job.
Good midwives. I've had great experiences with my midwives, and I've had great home birth experiences, and this was I keep
awesome.
saying easy, but it was a great birth.
Well,
it really was.
You. Like, this was a big deal, and I know it's not always like that, but call a win a win.
Especially because this time around it was with a new midwife. Like, it was we're in a new location, and there's always the question of what if. But honestly, birth is not a medical emergency if there's no presenting risks.
Yeah.
It's just a normal happening.
It's a thing your body does.
Everything gives birth, and it's normal, and so there's no need to go into panic mode, because then you can't deliver easily. And
it was such a good day.
It was a great day.
And there's a big snowstorm, and so
it's true. We're just hunkered down.
We holed up in your house, and I was like, perfect.
It really was, honestly. And no,
that was definitely a sponsor of my life, and I that's very cheesy, but I would say you are sponsoring my life, and our daughter is sponsoring my life, and it's so great. It's been so great. Obviously, I didn't even say her name. So little Magnolia is our little girl. She was born on Friday, and so I lied in the last podcast. Because
we were like, she's not gonna come. She'll be late.
When we recorded, it was Sunday or Monday or something, and it was and when this drops, she's still not here. Leave us alone. Don't ask. And then it was great.
It was great.
It really was.
Yeah. What was sponsoring your life?
What is sponsoring my life? So many wonderful things. And I'm just being goofy because and so we have had, and this is such a weird thing, we have had a kid every other year for 10 years. Because we've had 5 children, right? And that's bonkers to me. But 2016, 28, all the even years. 16
for 10
18,
years.
20,
a little less than 10 years.
24, right? So
yeah,
that's
so 8 years.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all the even years. 16, 18, anyways, 20, 22,
for 8
now
years.
24, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But one of the things, and this has been 2 or 3 kids, our tradition, we let go of Netflix, our streaming service, years ago. We let go of that.
Yeah.
But for the last couple times, what we do is, because you have to rest more than you would normally. You're not a sit still kind of a person.
It's hard to sit still.
You need to rest. So we get Netflix for just 1 month to watch one show. That's the only thing we care about, and that's Great British Baking Show.
Yeah, this is sponsoring my life.
It is. It's sponsoring my life. I love it. So we had the baby, and I was like, all right, let's go get our membership, and let's watch some Great British Baking Show, and I love it. And it's just so fun. So wholesome. I love the friendly competition, and I love lots of baking shows. They're all good, you know. And it's clean, and kids of any age really can watch it, and it's just fun. So yeah, Great British Baking Show, just a phenomenal show. And my favorite thing about the show is that the competitors don't compete. You know, they're all like rooting for each other. Mm-hmm. There is no like, I want you to fail. It's I want you to do good, and I want me to do better. Like that's the
there's an amicability about like the just
I've never
seen
that before. You know, like I finished up mine early. Let me help you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's unheard of in a lot of these other cooking shows. Although not chopped. Was it Master Chef Kids?
Oh yeah.
You see it with the kids because there's just this purity
camaraderie,
of heart where the kids are like, how can I help you? And they try to help each other, and I love that.
That's so cute, yeah.
Those are the only two shows I've ever seen camaraderie in building and competing. So anyways, yeah, Great British Baking Show, sponsor my life today. Mm-hmm. And everything. Everything is just sunshine and rainbows in my life right now. I'm over the moon. I'm in love with my new little baby girl and with you for everything you've done, and it really was amazing. I mean, I'm on cloud 9 and doing great, and you're doing good, and that's important. I think everybody always asks, well, how's Mama? Mama's doing great. Mama's doing so good it should not be compared to other women because it's not fair.
Well, and I'm sure other women have had this experience too. It's just, and every birth is different, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've had my fair share of difficult, it's not like everything is always perfect. Like,
no, this one was very special. But she's here, and we're super excited. And big brothers are super excited, and they are super into the cooking shows also.
They are. And the baby. So
yes, they really are. So that definitely sponsored my life today. All right, so now we're going to dive into a brand new segment called Hot Topic. This is my attempt at finding a title for our segment that is sort of this scattershot of interesting topics that we think are interesting. And we're going to deny that Hot Topic has any cultural relevance outside of this podcast. No one else has ever thought of that phrase ever, because we're going to talk about the hot topics. I don't know. Did you stop at hot topic?
Were we just talking about that the other day? Like how we all went into Hot Topic to buy studded belts or ridiculously overpriced band merchandise or...
Mm-hmm. So today's Hot Topic is never meet your heroes. This has been a thing that has come up over and over and over. And I'm curious your thoughts on it. And maybe I just have a rant about it. So my question for you is, because this connects to art or media or things that we have in our life. What do we do when the person behind the product disappoints us, right? Especially as Christians, because there's so much in American culture, there's so much Christian product out there. It has been a long series of Christian, quote unquote, Christian products or groups disappointing, if that makes sense. What do we do with the content created by people who disappoint us? You know, when someone lets us down. Now, this has happened over and over and over. It's been just this common theme. And I honestly don't know. And maybe it's situational. So here's what I mean. Can I listen to a song if I find out the musical artist has done a terrible thing? Can I enjoy a book if I find out that the author has done a terrible thing? What about listen to a sermon? Or a worship song? Like, what if it's not just a song on the radio, but a worship? If I'm worshiping with that song, what about financial advice? If I'm getting financial advice from someone who is giving, someone who turns out to be not so great.
I mean, this is all how I feel like this varies like case to case. Like, I feel like you can't necessarily like blanket statement that, because it depends on what they did, and it depends on like what you're using / receiving the content from that person for. Like, I feel like that plays into it a lot. Like, I would hold especially like religious leaders and like people like that to a higher standard because of what they do and they know better.
Yes.
Or they should know better. I have very low expectations for politicians and stuff like that, like other people, especially actors, like actors and actresses and writers and stuff. Like
we don't expect them to be good people.
I'm not, like, especially if I know that they're not a moral person who is, you know, writing about Christian values. Like, I have low expectations for them, and I find out, oh, they had a horrible life, and it's like, that actually doesn't surprise me. But I feel like it varies case to case how you interact with their content from here on out after finding out something like that.
Yeah, see, and for me, it's interesting because I draw different lines. Part of what I've been thinking about and how I want to do this. So I was reading a thing on Threads recently, and somebody was discounting someone because they quoted Jonathan Edwards, if that makes sense. And Jonathan Edwards was a very prolific sermon writer, very well known. But he was also a slave owner and a slave apologist. And so people were like, and what the guy quoted had nothing to do with slavery. Didn't touch that topic at all. But it was just, so you're willing to quote a slave apologist, but not listen to whoever this other person was?
I think that's a common problem in our current culture, though. Like, we are so quick to, like, look at the person only through the scope of this certain situation, or a certain aspect of their life, and we can't weed out, you know, the good from the bad. We have to throw the whole thing out because that has now defined the person as evil in our eyes, depending on our viewpoint of the situation or context in which we're looking at that person.
And there's just, when I sat down to sort of think about this hot topic, I had so many examples. It was a little bit alarming. Like, I was thinking about John Christ and the way he had gotten in trouble. There was a scandal with him involving some women, and his apology was kind of a non-apology.
Half-hearted apology, and then he just kind of came back from it.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed, so
Me too.
I stopped listening. I was like, I'm done.
I don't interact with his content anymore.
But then it's like, okay, but, you know, I still laugh at some of his jokes. Some of his jokes were still funny, right? There was still like, well, the joke is funny, but I just am grossed out by the guy, you know?
Yep. Dave
Dave Ramsey has gotten in trouble with Financial Peace University because he's kind of a bullying presence. Yeah. And some of the, like, there've been lawsuits. And he's just an abrasive, kind of aggressive guy. And there's been all these kind of scandals of, but what I see people doing is then they're like, well, then his financial advice, you don't have to listen to it. And it seems to me that people only care about the person's problems when they want to discount what the person is saying. Yeah. It's like, well, so if that wasn't there, you still wouldn't want to listen. Yeah. You know, because I guess that's my struggle. When someone touches on like a universal truth, something that is true regardless of who is saying it. Yeah. My frustration is that we don't attack the content of what they're saying anymore. We attack the person. Yeah. If I can just smear the person, then we can throw away what they say. Yep.
And I've justified why I don't have to listen to their stuff anymore.
Yeah, it just drives me crazy. Like, so another one is Hillsong. Mm-hmm. You know, Hillsong, Brian Houston got in a bunch of trouble. I don't even know exactly what he did. I know there was a whole documentary about it. But I know it was really bad. Like I think he went to jail, or his dad went to jail, or something. Mm-hmm. But the band, right, the collection of musicians that call themselves the Hillsong Group, they are putting out music that is very worshipful, and a lot of it's direct quotes from Scripture. And it's like, do we use that? Can we use that? And I know a lot of people have decided no. Yeah. They've said, nope, I won't use it because it's connected to a guy who did something bad. Brian Houston is not a musician, by my understanding. He is not. He doesn't play any instruments, or he's not connected to the people who do the music. They're just part of the same ministry. Right. You know? And there's just so many of those examples. And there's these degrees of separation when a product, whether it's, content like music or financial advice or whatever, it's just, there's this degree of separation. And I feel like we're in the world of big giant corporations. Yep. And everything is connected to everything, right? Like Walmart doesn't just do groceries. They do everything, right? Everything. And every store is getting into that. Amazon doesn't just do clothing. They sell literally everything.
Everything you could imagine,
And it's getting kind of crazy. And when one corner does something immoral, we're losing our ability to boycott, I guess, or we boycott for dumb reasons.
Yep.
And I honestly,
we pick and choose what's convenient for us.
And that's the part that really kind of weirds me out, is how selective we are in our principles.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, I care about this today, but it's inconvenient for me to care about it tomorrow, so I'm going to stop. You know, and that's the part I kind of wanted to talk about. It's just sort of fascinating. So here's one that kind of breaks my heart. There was a band called As I Lay Dying. They're a hardcore screamo group that I used to love listening to in high school. They're really intense. When you listen to them, they're very upbeat. You can't understand any of the words. You got to go look them up to find out they're even Christian. And I loved it. I used to listen to it while I wrote sermons. Then we find out that the lead singer, how do I say this? He went to jail because he tried to hire a hitman to kill his wife.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Like just crazy
That's
stuff.
Awful.
Yeah. And so he got convicted. And when he went into jail, he did an interview. And it was kind of like a tell-all interview. And basically what he said was, I've never really been a Christian. We just know that the Christian audiences are easier to tell them what they want to hear. And there weren't a lot of screamo Christian groups. So, we just told people what they wanted to hear to get fans.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Like I read pieces of the interview, and it really, I was heartbroken. I was really sad, because it's not that their music was transformed. I was a Christian before I ever heard of them.
Sure.
But I really liked the music. I enjoyed it. And what I found, and then so he served like 3 years in prison.
Okay.
Then he got out of prison, and they tried to go back to touring. They were like, we're
kidding
Christian.
me?
Yeah, they started to like try to do shows.
Oh, no, you have lost your credibility completely.
At least with Christian audiences, it was like,
oh my
dude,
gosh,
your faith is a part of what you do.
Well, and who is still supporting you after something like that happens? Like,
I don't know.
What the heck is your life?
And what I found is, I tried to tell myself, like, it doesn't matter. I was like, this music is you love this one lyrical line, you love this one cadence with the drums, like, just put the music on and write your sermon. I couldn't do it. I put it on, and I found it so distracting. It just made me think about what he did and what he said. Yeah. And it just made me feel manipulated and used.
It reminds me of when we went to go see The Used when we were in college. And I remember I bought you tickets because they were a hardcore band that you were really into.
I was super into them.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to surprise you with tickets to go see them locally in Grand Rapids. And we went to their show, and like, I was just so grossed up at the type of people they are. They were just gross. The stuff that came out of their mouths, like, and I realized their lyrics are not clean. Like, they're not a religious band at all.
But
and
they were disappointing.
They were just gross, like really gross, like middle-aged gross guys talking about disgusting stuff, like encouraging really gross stuff from the audience,
with
like
the young women,
especially with young women. I was like, this is really disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, and I just felt gross, like, around. And I honestly left that show, and I never listened to them again.
Yeah.
I never played a song, and I can't to this day. Like, it just soured me on them, because it was like, boy, you're just not good people, and I can't support that. Like, I can't.
It's really challenging. So
promote that.
And I'm gonna keep jumping between scandals, because I think it's fascinating the way I apply it differently.
Yeah.
So like, the Dave Ramsey stuff. When I heard about some of the scandals connected to Dave Ramsey and the bullying and the video clips and the lawsuits and whatnot, it was like, oh man, that's awful. Like, I was really sad.
Yeah.
But his financial advice is still really good.
And for the most part, I have to admit, like, I have found some people that I follow now, like on Instagram or other people, that I think their financial advice is actually probably better. And they have like made some good points about Dave Ramsey, but I've been following Dave Ramsey for a while, and I do find his stuff simple to follow. So I keep following it because it's what we've been doing, and it works for us, you know?
And the other side of it is, when I meet a new person, right, or I'm interacting with a new organization and we talk about these things, I wonder, because I'm like, well, do you have any problems with the Dave Ramsey curriculum? And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, they don't know about the scandal. And it's like, do I have a responsibility to pop this bubble for them? Because it's like, you're getting helpful financial advice that for this person in this situation, this will help them. This will make their life so much better if they follow this advice.
Well, and that might be something that they need to decide for themselves. Like, your perspective on that person and how you apply what they've, decided to do, or what disappointments they are for you, might be something that's totally not an issue for the other person. Like, big deal. Some people are abrasive. That's okay. I don't care.
Well, and it's like you go into a church and you see that the band is playing Hillsong. Do you have a responsibility to go up there and be like, well, you know that Brian Houston's a bad person? And they'll be like, who's Brian Houston? Like, they don't know. They just like the music. They heard it on the radio. And it's like, I have to fill them in. And it's like, what's our level of responsibility? Because I do feel like there are some people who kind of live the completely cut off life.
Right.
They're just like, if you have wronged me, I cut you out and I'm done with you forever and I cancel. It's just sort of that cancel culture vibe mentality. Yeah. And they do it to everything. If you have ever done bad, everything you've ever touched is evil and I can throw it all away.
Yep.
And I do think it just seems that it's a mechanism to throw away teachings we don't like.
Yeah.
I don't want to follow Dave Ramsey's. He's very restrictive and I don't want to live on a budget. So I found a scandal, so now I can throw away his financial advice. Yeah. You know, I don't want to believe in the message of Christianity, so I found a problem with the one speaker, and now I can throw away all of Christianity.
Yeah.
And at the same time, and so that's on the one side, and I don't like that. I think that that's the wrong use of it. But at the same time, I do want us to be conscientious and say...
You have to hold people accountable for, what they're doing.
And so for me, it's the content is what I want you to, I would be very happy to cut Dave Ramsey's face out of it. It's like, okay, if he has done wrong and we need to not follow him, get a different person to say the same thing because this advice is strong. Yeah. Same thing with like the Hillsong music. It's like, I certainly don't want to cover up anything. Let's expose all evil. Yep. But then recognize that person didn't do anything. They're part of a massive global church.
Oh, yeah.
And this musician over here had nothing to do with this scandal over there.
Absolutely.
Even though they both have the same title.
Right.
If people still want to restrict and say, no, I'm not going to sing that song, I respect that. Like, I just, like, after trying to listen to the As They Lay Dying CD and I just can't. Yeah. It's like... Yeah, if it affected you in some kind of a personal way, I didn't have a big attachment to Hillsong. Like they were not a part. I've listened to them a little bit on a Sunday. My understanding of them is they write worship music. That's all I know. Right.
They're just a big worship.
They weren't a part of my faith journey.
Right.
I had been a Christian for a long time. So yeah, when there is scandal, I think it's important to hold people accountable. I never want it to turn into excusing someone. Well, but they make such good jokes or they make such good music or they, I never want to excuse bad behavior. At the same time, I do think when your work touches on some kind of eternal truth or even just any truth, if it's helpful, and it can be put to good use, then we should keep the parts that are valuable. And I think that that's a big part of sifting through someone's life. Moses's indiscretion doesn't mean that the 10 Commandments are invalid.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
And that's not excusing Moses. Moses needs to be held accountable.
No, he needs to be held accountable as a person, but yeah.
So yeah, does that kind of make sense?
It does. It does.
Never meet your heroes. They will always disappoint.
And don't throw your whole life in with one person. Like, don't subscribe to everything 100% unless it's Jesus Christ.
There you go. I like that. I'll end on a highlight. That was one of the most powerful impacts of Tim Keller's ministry. He passed away last year. For those who don't know, Tim Keller's a pastor in New York, or he was for a long time, 30, 40 years.
Pastor, prolific writer.
Yes, brilliant and scandal-free as far as anyone knows.
A really good person.
Well, and his works were really beautiful. And part of that was they were so focused on Jesus. Like it was all about finding Jesus and expressing that and teaching people about him. He did great things and I'm very grateful. Not everybody likes him. I know, but I do. And I'm grateful for the few scandal-free ministries that we know of.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, that's my hot topic for this week.
Nice. That was a good topic.
I'm really enjoying podcasting, holding my daughter. Like this is fun to me. Oh,
she'll be here for a while.
Yeah. Are you ready to send us out with the mom joke of the week?
Do you know why babies born on holidays are more likely to be little girls?
No.
Because there's no mail delivery on holidays.
See, I like that one.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.